Scouting Combine, Indianapolis, a guy whose team comes here at least once a year to take on the Colts, has ruled the AFC South for the past couple of years. General Manager Nick Caserio. Nick, welcome back.
Thanks, fellas. Too kind.
Man, how dare you just go to the AFC South and dominate the way you are right now.
I don't know if we're dominating anybody, but we're fortunate that we've had some success the last few years, so certainly grateful. You know, now we got to kind of restart here and get ready for the 25 season.
Is there one moment that you can look back on now as when the tide changed for the Texans?
Yeah, Mike, it was probably an accumulation over time. I mean, even in the first couple of years, I mean, obviously we had to work through a number of different things, but even when we were kind of working through that, you know, we were trying to add players and put maybe some things in place. And then honestly, when we hired D'Amico in 23, that kind of probably put it over the top. You know, I mean, he's one of the best coaches in the league. We're fortunate that he's leading our franchise. Fortunate and grateful for the relationship that we have working with one another. So, and then it was just a matter of just kind of putting some level of consistent performance, consistent decision-making in place. You know, we feel like we've done that here over the last 2 years, but it doesn't guarantee anything. So we also understand that, you know, the competition is going to continue to increase. So we're just going to try to do what we think is best for our team and try to continually make good decisions and put ourselves in a position where we at least have an opportunity to potentially challenge some of the better teams in the AFC.
Yeah, well, you're humble. You've killed it in free agency. You killed it in the draft. You made some big moves in the draft, and I got to give you a lot of credit for that. Take us into, like, just a little behind the curtains of, like, what is so special about D'Amico Ryans? What is it? What's his superpower that he can talk to the team and they all lead him that way?
He's just so consistent and sincere and authentic with his messaging, and he's got tremendous energy. And you wouldn't know on Monday after the game if we won or lost the game. His attitude, his approach. There's a standard of performance that's expected on a day-to-day basis. Here are the things that we did well. Here are the things that we have to improve. And he's just so consistent. I think players want consistency. They want to know when they walk in a building, they want to have a good work environment. They want to know what to expect. And when you walk in our building, when players walk in our building, they know what to expect. And we want to just make sure we're doing everything to provide them the resources so they can go out there and perform at an optimal level on Sundays.
Right. You could actually make an argument that the team was better in 24 because in 23, off the radar screen, not a tough schedule, not compared to last year. Last year, a much tougher schedule, and you still got just as far. Another playoff win at home, another divisional round game where you gave a higher-seeded team a run for their money. Do you think the team was actually better in some ways in 24?
We made progress, Mike, I think. And you go back and look at our season, other than the Minnesota and Baltimore game, like we essentially had an opportunity to win every game. Some of them we did, some of them we didn't. We just had a little bit of trouble finishing games kind of in the fourth quarter and executing when it matters. You know, even the divisional game is 13-12 in the fourth quarter. So we've put ourselves in a position, doesn't guarantee anything. Like getting back to that point took a lot of work. But we felt we had a good football team going into the season. We had to deal with some things. We lost some players, had some injuries, but we felt we were going to have an opportunity to compete, you know, with the rest of the AFC, and I think we've shown the ability to do that. Now can we continue that sort of arc moving forward?
I try. You know, I'm a huge C.J. Stroud fan. I think you probably know that. I said during the year there was things wrong with the offense that weren't helping him. But like in your 2 cents, what was the? I want to say the word aggression because it was still a real good year, but I don't think it met everybody's expectations. And like, what's your assessment there with C.J.?
Yeah, there was pockets there where it was just up and down.
Right.
So we could move the ball from kind of the 30 to 30. Sometimes we got in a red area and we just couldn't do enough. And the game in the end is about points. So I think some of the situational errors, third down, red area, decision making, taking care of the football. There was a period there where, you know, we turned the ball over a little bit. He turned the ball over a little bit. Then as the year went on, he improved and got better. So all those little things, as you know, some point add up. So if we can improve some things on the margins, you know, we'll see kind of what that looks like here once the season starts.
All right, another one off of him. You're from New England. It's on to Cincinnati. Don't really ever say anything. He was very public in media appearances in the offseason last year. Is there a point where do you have a talk with him about that?
You know, I think players kind of have to learn
Right.
some of this as you go.
Right.
And we've got to understand these are young players and they come in the league and sometimes a lot is thrown at them. And they have to, look, in the end, you got to figure things out on your own. What works, what doesn't work, a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that. But ultimately, whomever the player is, the focus has to be on work and improvement in the offseason. And you can make a lot of progress and a lot of gains if that's where the focus is.
Yeah.
Nick, how much of last year's struggles on offense do you believe were a simple result of we got a whole year of film from 2023, and now we're a team that's got a target, not a giant target, but a target, and there's a ceiling that the defense has put there that maybe the offense was bumping its head against at times.
Yeah, Mike, I think one of the points that you made, too, the defense is you got to give the defenses a lot of credit in this league. When you look around, I mean, they've made some adjustments and modifications or certain coverages that teams weren't playing. The blitz packages have gotten a little bit more exotic. So your ability to kind of react to some of those sort of new things or new concepts, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means, okay, how are you going to deal with them? And, honestly, we probably could have done a better job collectively, in some areas. It's not one particular thing. It's not one particular player. It's not one particular coach. I think sometimes there's a tendency to kind of pin it on someone or something. Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of really good coaches in this league. I mean, if you look at the AFC South, I mean, with Coach Anarumo going to Indianapolis, Coach Campanelli going to Jacksonville. So, I mean, sometimes you got to tip your hat to the defense because they're kind of starting to counterbalance some of the things that the offenses are doing.
Sure.
And obviously, DeMeco Ryans earned his head coaching job as a defensive guy, which makes offensive coordinator the most important assistant position. Help us understand how it gets to the point where the organization decides we need to make a change at that position, because that's a pretty significant change.
Yeah, Mike, it wasn't easy. I mean, Bobby did a lot of really great things for the organization, helped a number of players. I think as we went through it, DeMeco felt in the end that was the right thing for our team. So it wasn't easy. I mean, DeMeco and Bobby essentially grew up in the NFL together. So to be able to make a decision like that was hard. It was taxing. So, but, that was a decision we felt made the most sense for us. So we got to turn the page. So, I mean, it's a good opportunity for Nick. Has experience kind of a multitude of systems. So we'll kind of see how it goes. But, Nick's a highly respected coach in this league. So, again, it's going to be a collective effort. It's not going to be specifically about Nick Caley. It's going to be about the offensive staff, the offensive players, how we play, how do we handle things in games. So all of it kind of fits together in the end.
I learned a lot from you in my short time in New England.
So he's the one to blame?
Well, maybe in some
I
circles.
make him smarter, that's for sure. He's already smarter than I am.
Well, that's not true. But no, you taught me to look at the game and look at things as far as scouting in a way that I had never thought about it as a player or anything like that. Off of that, this week I've been asking, right? And I'm really excited to ask this.
I can't wait.
What is your grade evaluator, your kryptonite, or the position that's tough for you, right? I've kind of asked every GM this a little bit. We've got a lot of safeties that people have said that. And I think more because they felt like the film is hard to find quality plays sometimes. It's a long, tedious watch, right?
Just as you're going through watching other positions?
Yeah, or just the one you feel like you're not maybe as good at as others, or it is a hard watch for you. Or
yeah, you're always learning. I think sometimes in the front,
yeah,
we're talking really more in the defensive line, because,
right,
again, if you have a rotation of players, they're in and out of the lineup, okay, are they in there in third down situations? Then you go find. The one thing about the technology is available, if you want to go to something specifically, you can find it. So if you want to pull up the guys' pressures, offensive linemen, they're typically out there for all the snaps, so you can watch that. But we were talking to a player the other night. I mean, they played basically 300 snaps this season. Is that by design? So, you might go to a game and he's playing 20 snaps in a game. All right, so then you got to go kind of dig it out and fish it out. And you just want to make sure you don't lose the assessment, because while he played 20 plays, we're going to categorize him as this. Sometimes you got to do a little bit deeper dive.
Yeah, so that's your
you just want to make sure you don't miss it.
Yeah, don't miss those quality plays that really
change
change your mind or whatever.
For sure.
Yeah,
we saw a resurgence of the running back last year, and the first three names that come to mind are Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. But as you pointed out yesterday, Joe Mixon ended up at a time when the Bengals thought it was over, let's move on, costs more than maybe what he's got left. You guys saw something there. What did you see, and how important was he to the offense this year?
No question, Mike. I mean, Joe was a tremendous asset to our team. Had experience playing against him in my time in New England. Joe's been a very durable, very productive back, kind of a three-down back. He's not just a runner. He can make plays in a passing game. So it was an opportunity where we kind of jumped the line a little bit before he got released. And sometimes it's a unique situation, but we talked about it as a coaching staff. Hey, what are your thoughts? And we feel good about it. And then it's, hey, you get on the phone. We did it with Jason McCourty as well when he was getting released from Cleveland a few years back. But Joe was a tremendous asset to our team. Honestly, he missed 4 or 5 games. If he doesn't miss those games, he probably even has a more productive season than he did. But big, strong, physical, very versatile. So he certainly added a dimension to our offense that helped our team.
And what went against the grain last year was this mindset of, hey, you can find a running back anywhere. You can get a young, cheap guy in the draft. You can get a guy undrafted. I feel like some teams, including you guys with Mixon, recognize there's still a difference between the run-of-the-mill, not to take anything away from those guys, but the run-of-the-mill running back who can gain yards and score touchdowns, and the guys who are special.
No, that's fair. I mean, they kind of come in all different shapes and sizes. And look, if you can find a guy that can be kind of a 3-down back that can kind of play in all situations, there's value in that. I mean, Saquon can do that. Sure. Joe can do that. I mean, even Derrick can play in a passing game to some degree. And then you look at what the Lions are doing. I mean, they have 2 guys, honestly, who are 3-down backs. Yeah. I mean, one's electric and you can't tackle. Right. Another guy, Montgomery and Mixon, have some similarities. Yeah. So ultimately, if you can give a guy the ball and he can get yards, it kind of takes a lot of pressure and a lot of attacks off a lot of players.
You're always ahead of the curve. I know that. And when I'm just, I don't mean to rattle off stories here, but I was in New England. One of the things you were there, you were preaching to us, linebackers have changed. That's changed. They were telling that he was already ahead of the curve, that we got to start looking at linebackers that are more like safeties. This is where the league's going. Faster, smaller linebackers. Is there a trend right now in football that I don't know about, but you GMs know about, or that's on your radar right now?
No, I mean, it's definitely a space game, and it's really become, they call it a 2-linebacker defense. So, and really the 2 linebackers, they sort of have to be interchangeable. Yeah. So it's not, well, this guy can do this guy can do that. At some point, offenses are going to be able to exploit that.
Expose you, right.
So I think having versatility on the inside part of the formation defensively, safety to nickel, safety to potentially corner, big nickel. I mean, like Kyle Hamilton. So just figure out a way to deploy the resources, and you got to handle the space, and you got to kind of counteract the speed that the offenses and the tax that the stress that they're putting on.
So that versatility in the middle there, when they shift the tight end, who's awesome, and another running back out there, and all of a sudden plays receiver.
How are you going to handle it?
You got a safety and a linebacker that you go, okay, I feel good no matter what side of the formation around, they can match up. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
hear you.
After the playoff loss in Kansas City, Joe Mixon and Will Anderson Jr. both had some things to say. Now, Joe didn't say the thing that the league thought he said, but he said something else. They both got fined. The fines got overturned. With your Belichick DNA, how do you feel about guys saying anything about the officials or anything else whatsoever after a game?
Look, I think we have to be respectful to the league and the processes. I mean, I think I'm persona non grata with the league after my comments about Aziz. But, I think the players, sometimes they express themselves and they just are articulating how they feel. So you just want to be smart about it. Nobody's trying to put anybody in a tough spot. So, sometimes frustration kind of builds up a little bit and you express it. So however it gets articulated and interpreted, it's tough. But, we have a lot of respect for the league and we always want to try to do the right thing. And I think sometimes after a loss, sometimes players, they're going to talk, but just want to make sure we're respectful to everybody involved and not take, credit away from the team, the opposing team that, you just played against.
Are you saying that after you said what you said about Aziz, you look at your phone and it's like, oh, shit, 212 area code. Here we go.
Yeah.
I don't have any more to comment.
345 Park Avenue is calling me, guys. I got to go.
That's okay. I get the same calls.
All right,
Caserio, Texas.
You still cool with the tush push?
Yeah, and I was just talking about, look, I don't think you can penalize a team that executes a play well. Yeah. They've done a good job. Nick and Coach Stoutland done a good job. And they got a quarterback that squats 700 pounds.
Exactly.
They have, and it's a good play. So, it works for them. You got to figure out a way to stop it.
Yeah. There you go.
Nick Caserio, Texans GM. Thanks as always for some of your time. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.